Hey everyone, Kelly Dean Allen here once again. Today, in this one video, I'm going to show you how to play all the main rhythm parts to every track from side 2, or alternatively, the final 5 tracks from AC/DC's legendary 1980 album Back in Black, including the title track Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long, Have a Drink on Me, Shake a Leg, and finally Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. Gonna pound these tutorials out in succession with 4 to 7 minute long mini tutorials and cover as much as I can in each. Might miss a little bridge section here and there, but I'm gonna do my best to get the majority of the rhythm parts in. That said, part 1 of this video covering the first 5 tracks from this album can be found linked down below in the description box. Good, then let's get started, shall we? Alright then, track number 6 from Back in Black is the title track Back in Black, with one of the most famous hard rock guitar riffs of all time. You've all heard this one before, but I'm going to play it for you anyway. It goes a little something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, buckle my shoe. And repeat. So we're starting with mutes, 2 bars of mutes, just lightly holding the strings here at around the 2nd or 3rd fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Final 2 beats of the 2nd bar, you're just going to let go silent before dropping into an E power chord to kick off the main riff. Just hit that E power chord and choke it off. Then you're going to drop into a D5 chord. It's a D chord without the high E string. A little down, up, down, and choke it off. Right? Off to an A power chord, do the exact same thing. Right? Bum, ba-na-na, ba-na-na, and then the lick. Right? 3 of the high E off to open, 3 of the B off to open. Grab the 2 of the G, little full step bend release, pull it off to open G, and then right back to E again, start the riff. Right, second half of the riff. And then we're into the stretchy bit. That part right there. So we're going to drop our index on the 2 of the A string, and we're going to start with this note, and we're going to keep pedaling back to it, right? And we're going to go chromatically 4, 5, 6, 7 of the low E. And then you're going to slide out of that 7 right back to the E power chord, start the whole thing over again. So you're going 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7. Now when you're going 2, 4, 5, you can keep that index planted on that 2. But when you get to that 7, that is a bit of a stretch. So you can let go of that 2 because we're not going back to it, right? And just shift your whole hand up here, grab that 7 with your pinky and slide out of it. Right, at this point I've let go of that 2 of the A string, grab that 7 of the low E and slid out of it. Right? Right, that is the main riff. You're going to play that all throughout the first verse, and then we drop into the pre-chorus chorus with this. So it's an A power chord to an E power chord into a B power chord, back off to A, back into B, and repeat that twice. A, E, B, A, B. Right, and then we're going to go G, D, A, G, A. However, when we go to the G the second time, we're not going into the full chord. We're just grabbing the G note at the 3rd fret of the low E. Little waggle before going back to that A power chord, right? G, D, A, bow, bow. G, D, A, bow, bow. And then back to A to E to B. Twice. And for the chorus, 3 Gs. And then 3 Ds. Bow. Into the next verse. same as the first verse. We drop into another chorus, same as the first chorus, and then we're into the guitar solo. So the rhythm under the guitar solo is this. And repeat. So E power chord, right, choke it off, grab a D power chord at the 5th fret position, down, up, down, and then you're going to take your index, back it up to this C sharp at the 4th fret of the A while keeping your pinky on that 7 of the D. Little down, up, down, right? This is a C sharp augmented. And then you're going to do little triplets, little down, up, downs 3 times on that E power chord. And then back to D, off to C sharp augmented. So just E to A, E to A to E, right? And repeat. Right into another chorus. Kind of a variation on that little stretchy bit that we were playing earlier, starting with an open E, and then you're going to go 5, 4, 2, 4 of the A, and then drop onto the 3 of the low E. And then we're going to do the bouncing off that 2 again. We're going to go 5, 6, 7, dropping the 4 out of it, right? Kind of like that. 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7. Right, you're going to repeat that 4 times, and then we're going to jump it down to the A and the D string, do the exact same thing. Back to E and A. Right into another chorus. Same as all the other chorus, right? At the end of the track, out of sight, grab the 12th fret of the B, little half step pre-bend, slow release, off to 10, and then we're into the outro solo. Same rhythm as the main solo. Right, and that just continues until fade out, and that is how you play Back in Black. Let's move on. Track number 7, and You Shook Me All Night Long. All right then, You Shook Me All Night Long. Track number 7 from Back in Black goes a little something like this. And that is the main riff. So the quiet intro to this, and we're going to back our volume off a little bit here, kill some of the gain. We're starting with this little G5 chord here, 7 of the G, 8 of the B, with our index and ring finger, freeing up our middle finger, because we're going to need that in a moment, right? Open D, and then the 7 of the G and the 8 of the B. We're just going to lightly brush down those 3 strings. And then you're just going to lightly ride the open D. Like 5 times, right? And then we're going to brush down those 3 strings again, but you're going to drop your pinky on the 10 of the B string and release it back off to the G5 chord and catch it twice on the upstroke. Back to open D, and then back to the 8 of the B and release it off to just a bar on the 7s and ride up the B and the G string, right? Quick open D, and then drop into a D5 chord. Same little shape, just back it up 5 spots, right? Now here's where our middle finger comes in. We're going to grab the 3rd fret of the D string, a little downwards tug, and back off to the D chord. Right? And then back onto that 3, hammer onto 4 with your pinky, grab the 3 of the B on the upstroke, back to that 3, and then back off to the D chord. Right back into G5. And then when you go off to D the second time, you're just going to let it ring for 2 full bars. And that is the intro. Riff. So we're going to drop into a 2-finger G power chord here, the AC/DC G chord, right? 3rd of the low E, 3rd of the B string, muting out the A string with the pad of your middle finger, bottom 5 strings, and then choke it off, right? Then you're going to move into a 2-finger C chord, 1 of the B, 3 of the A, muting out the D string with the pad of your ring finger. And then you're going to jump that up to the 3rd fret while still holding this 1 of the B, this G note here at the 3rd fret, and you're going to go back and forth twice, right? And then drop immediately into a D5 chord. Right? And then you're going to go G to D, G to D, G. Right? Now when you're doing this G to D, G to D to G, you're keeping your ring finger planted on that 3 of the B. Very choppy, very staccato, right? G, C to G, C, G, D, G to D, G, D, G, right? That is the rhythm, the riff all throughout the first verse. And leading into the chorus, coming out of this for the last time, you're going to hang in D. And then you're going to go into a full D. You're going to drop onto the sus here on the 3rd fret of the high E, right? And you're going to hit that twice, then off to the bar, right? And then back on and back off again. Kind of like that. Right? And then we drop into the chorus. You're going to repeat that twice for the first chorus. So G, bum, bum, you're going to hit that twice, and then you're going to go open A, 2, 3, grab the G string, then the B string, and then you're going to back that off to the 2 and do the same thing. Drop into D, and then do that open 2, 3 again. Back to G, right? Bum, bum, bum. Next verse. Right? Same as the first verse. Then we're into another chorus. I think the second chorus is twice as long. Bum, 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 bum. And then at the end of the chorus, we're just going to hang in this D, right? And then drop onto the sus, and then back to the D again, right? And then just build on that D leading into the guitar solo, right? D, and then the sus, hit a couple of times, back to D again. And then we're into the guitar solo. The rhythm under the guitar solo is the chorus, but we're starting it very choppy and staccato. Just hit that G, and then open 2, 3, chop it off, into D, and chop it off, right? You're just very choppy. You're hitting all the same notes as the chorus, but you're chopping everything off. You're cutting everything off, right? Bum, 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 bum. And then you're going to start strumming it. Bum, 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 bum. And then you're into the rhythm that you're playing exactly the same as the chorus. And then we just drop right back back into a chorus, you just keep on playing that. Right, and that's pretty much all the rhythm parts to this one. That just continues until the end of the track. And that is how you play You Shook Me All Night Long. Let's move on. Track number 8, and Have a Drink on Me. All right then, track number 8 from Back in Black is Have a Drink on Me, and it goes a little something like this. At this point, the full band joins and we're into the first verse. So what we're doing here is the 7 of the G string, sliding it into 9 with our ring finger, grabbing the 8 of the B and letting those 2 notes ring together for about a bar and a half. Kind of like that, right? And then you're going to repeat that, but then you're going to go back to that 9, quickly slide it back to 7, pull it off to 5, and then grab the 7 of the D. Kind of like that, right? Then you're going to come off that 7 of the D, drop down onto a double stop on the 7s of the G and the B, off to a double stop on the 5s, give that a little downwards tug, and back onto that 7 of the D again. Kind of like that, right? Then you're going to do a quick palm muted open A, and then you're going to grab a double stop on the upstroke on the 5s of the D and the G, and hammer onto the major third there on the 6 of the G. 2 more palm muted open A's, and then drop onto a double stop on the 7s and let it ring. Right, and repeat 4 times. Off that lick, right, we're going to go off to A, to D, back to A, and when you go back to A, you're going to drop onto that 3rd fret of the A, little downwards tug off to A twice. Kind of like that, right? And then we drop right back into the riff again, but we're going to reverse it. We're going to start with the hammer on from the double stop on the 5s to that major 3rd. Right, and then play the lick. This is actually what we're playing during the chorus, right? And then off to A, ba, 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 right, and repeat. Then off to A, to D, ba, 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 right? So that is the chorus. It's also the lead-in for the first verse, right? Ba, 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 ba. A to D, ba, 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 ba. And then we're into the first verse. So what we're doing here, we're going to be repeating that 4 times, just like that at the beginning of the verse. Along with the open A, we're going to be hitting the D string here on the 5, off to the 4, back to the 5. Right, kind of palm muted, kind of quiet. And then you're just going to lightly ride that open A, right? Nice and quiet. And then we're going to repeat that, but we're going to double hit that 5 before going off to 4, back to 5, and then we're going to go to 7. Kind of like that, right? Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. Repeated 4 times. Bum, ba-dum, ba-da-da-dum. Now, at this point, another guitar is going to join, and this guitar is going to keep playing this, but it's going to do double hits on that 5 every time for the next 4 repeats of this. Kind of like that, right? Now, the second half of the verse, starting with that, the double hit, another guitar joins with a big down, up, down A power chord, right? While the other guitar is still playing this. Right, so kind of like this. And the other guitar now jumps into a big G power chord, down, up, down. Right? While the other guitar is still playing that. And then the other guitar grabs a big D power chord while the other guitar is still playing this. Right? And then they both drop into D, 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 F to G, right? As a lead into the chorus. D, 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 F to G, and the chorus. Which is that lick, right? Bum, 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 bum. And then we're into the next verse. The next verse is the same, this here, but we're going to let the notes ring for the first two playthroughs, right? A little bit louder, right? And then quiet. Right? Same as the first verse. And then we drop into another chorus. D, F to G. And then we're into the guitar solo. So the rhythm that's going on underneath the guitar solo is this. So it's an E power chord grabbing the 3rd fret and then going off to an A power chord and hitting it twice and repeating that 3 times. E, G, A, E, G, A, E, G, A, and then into G to D and repeat. Now this time we're going to do this. Back to E and we're going to go bom 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 off the 3rd fret, right? And then repeat. E, G, A, E, G, A, and then into G, let it ring. Down to D, let it ring. And then we're into the bridge section, I guess you could call it. Hit an A power chord, right? Back into that lick, and then 3 A power chords. And you play that lick, right? 3 times coming off that A. And then you're going to repeat that 3 times. No, you're going to repeat it twice, and then you're going to double time it. 4 times, I think, right? Dropping the double stops out. Just stopping on that 7 of the D, and then repeating. And then we're into the outro. A to D, G to D, A to D, over and over again, right until the end. Have a drink on me, drink on me, have a drink on me, drink on me. Right, just A to D, G to D, A to D, G to D, and I think the end. Hit that D, let it ring, do it again. A to D, one more time. A to D. Not mistaken, big finish in A. Although I could be wrong about this, but it works. And bam, there you go. That's how you play Have a Drink on Me. Let's move on. Track number 9. All right then, track number 9 from Back in Black is Shake a Leg. This one has a really good riff and starts off a little something like this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. and then we're into the first verse proper. So we're starting with an E power chord. Just hit that E power chord, let it ring for 2 bars, then you're going to go down to A, right back to E again, right? Let it ring for 2 bars, and repeat. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, E, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, E, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the vocals have already come in at this point, but we're going to continue playing that for 2 more repeats, but we're going to double up those A to E's, right? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, E, A, E, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, E, and then finally, try it out. A little down, up, choke it off, that E power chord, and then we're into this. Just E power chord dropping onto that 3rd fret of the low E, little downwards tug, back to the E power chord, choke it off. Right, and then we're into the main riff. That right there, which we're going to repeat 4 times before the vocals come in. E power chord, grabbing that 3rd fret again, back to the E power chord. Then you're going to slide into the 4 of the low E down to a double hit on the 2 of the A. And then you're going to slide into 5 of the low E down to a double hit on the 4 of the A. Then you're going to slide into the 7 of the low E down to a double hit on the 5 of the A. Right, and repeat 4 times. And then when the vocals come in for the verse, we're just going to drop into E and E power chord, hammer away on it for 2 full bars. And then play the riff again. And then back to E, 2 bars, riff. And then we're going to go off to A, do the exact same thing. Just hammer on an A power chord, play the riff. Exact same frets, but now on the A and the D string. And then back to E. It's kind of like a 12-bar blues progression, really. And then we're into the chorus. Right, that's the chorus right there. E power chord up to a B power chord. You're going to hit that E power chord once, and when you jump it up to B, you're going to hit that 3 or 4 times, right? Kind of like that. Back to the E, hit it twice, and then back to the B. And then you repeat that 3 times. Finish the chorus. That right there, just going kind of double timed, the E to B, right? And right back into the riff again. Twice. Right into another verse, right? Just hammer on that E power chord. Off to A. Back to E. Chorus. E, B, E, B, 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 E, B, E, B, E, B, E, B, E, B. And then finally off to E, let it ring. And leading into the solo, we're just going to hang in this E power chord. Where you're going to hit that E power chord like 4 times, and then you're going to start pulling off that 3rd fret off to the power chord 4 times, right? And then repeat. Right, and then we drop into the solo. So what we're playing underneath the solo is this. same kind of deal, right? We're going to repeat this like 3 or 4 times, right? A power chord, just grabbing that 3rd fret of the A, back to the A, right? And then repeat 3 times. And then D, G, D, G, D, G, and then we're into what we're playing during the chorus. Under the solo. Right into another verse. That's it. That's all the rhythm parts to this one. So let's move on to track number 10, the final track on Back in Black, and it is Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. All right, then track number 10 from Back in Black is Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, and it goes a little something like this. You're going to be repeating that little progression, I think, like 6 times at the beginning of this track. We're starting with our index here on the 1 of the G string along with the open B, plucking with your index and middle finger, right? And then you're going to drop onto a double stop on the 2s of the G and the B. It's all like double stop work, right? And then we're dropping onto the 4 of the G and the 3 of the B, right? And then you're going to back it up to the double stop on the 2s, but you're going to hit them along with the open A. Twice. Drop back onto the 4-3. Reach up there very quickly, grab the 3rd fret of the low E, give it a little downwards tug, and release it off to a very quiet E power chord, right? And then you're going to repeat it. However, coming off these double stops where you're hitting along with the open A, the second time, you're going to grab that 3 of the low E with your index, slide it up to an E power chord at the 7th fret position, and then slide out of it, and then repeat, right? The final time before the whole band kicks in, you just hang in that E and let it ring. You don't slide out of it, right? And then we're right back into that exact same thing, but we've kicked on the distortion, playing the same thing, and now we can pick it, right? Twice. Into the first verse. Now we're just going to play like a blues progression, right? In E, down to A, right? Just E power chord here that you're holding with your index, just bouncing off this 4. Then you grab the 3rd fret of the low E, little downwards tug, and then you drop it into A, right? And then you just bounce off that 4 of the D, right? And you repeat that like 4 times. Right, and then we're into the pre-chorus. Leading into the chorus, right? Which is just the riff, right? Right, so what we're doing here for the pre-chorus, E power chord off to a D power chord off to a B power chord. Actually, we're using full bar chords here, right? Off to B and then back to E again, right? E to D, B to E, E to D, and then off to A. And then just hang in that A play for about 2 bars, right? And then we drop into the main riff again for the chorus. Now, every time during the chorus, when you're playing this more aggressively, you're not going up to this E power chord here. You're just dropping onto that 3 of the low E off to the power chord, right? Kind of like that, right? Right, and Malcolm is playing like heavier chords underneath that. I don't know what they are. I haven't figured that out. But this is kind of what Angus is playing, right? During the chorus. I don't know what Malcolm's playing, but he's playing something that's got a little more weight to it, right? With more like full bar chords and power chords and whatnot. But this is Angus's part. Right, and then we just drop right into another verse. That blues progression. Right, 4 times. And then the pre-chorus, E to D, B to E, E to D to A. Into another chorus. Right, and that just leads into the guitar solo after this chorus, and what's playing under the guitar solo is just the verse and the pre-chorus. That right there, right? 4 times and then E to D to A. Final chorus. Right, and that is it. That is how you play Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, and that is how you play the final 5 tracks on AC/DC's Back in Black. Certainly hope you enjoyed that, found it helpful. If you did, please hit that like button right down there. Maybe drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be very kind and helpful to my channel. Hope you're well out there in your little guitar corner of the world, wherever that may find you, and we will see you next time. Cheers.